You all know that there are many diets you can follow if your goal is weight loss. Low fat, low carb, Atkins, paleo, keto, wheat belly, undoctored, etc. My point is not to debate the relative merits or deficiencies of those approaches, but to point out that if your goal is weight loss and regaining magnificent or optimal health, you've got to go farther than diet. You cannot recover full health by just losing weight. Why would cutting calories, which by the way does not work very well, it works initially only to be followed by weight regain due to the reduction in metabolic rate, and you regain the weight even if you maintain a low calorie intake. But let's say you do lose weight initially on a low calorie diet. Why would that restore health? Why would that reverse acid reflux or irritable bowel syndrome or migraine headaches or rheumatoid arthritis or lupus or polymyalgia rheumatica or ulcerative colitis or type 2? You can see the point here. There's a lot more you can do to seize back control over health. So among those strategies you can follow is a restoration of healthy bowel flora. We have to accept that modern people have massively disrupted their bowel flora for a variety of reasons, including such things as exposure to antibiotics in past, exposure to herbicides and pesticides in modern food, taking acid-suppressing blocking drugs like Protonix, Prilosec, and Acifex, and a whole long list of other reasons. And many people have the more severe forms of dysbiosis, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and SIFO, small intestinal fungal overgrowth. These are situations in which unhealthy bacteria or fungi have proliferated and then ascended up the entire length of the gastrointestinal tract. And this leads to a whole new collection of health problems like irritable bowel syndrome symptoms. It permits autoimmune diseases to emerge. It causes all sorts of gastrointestinal problems. It leads long-term to diverticular disease and even colon cancer. So no diet will fully address the dysbiosis of modern life. You have to take specific efforts to correct it. Diet will not correct vitamin D deficiency. If you consume some foods, the few foods that have some vitamin D in it, like liver or egg yolks, you'll still be deficient because the quantity in diet is too low. You need to either get it from sun or from supplements. But keep in mind that you lose the ability to activate vitamin D in the skin as you get older, and so supplements become more and more necessary the older you get. And you're best off tracking your 25-hydroxyvitamin D blood level to be assured that you have healthy blood levels. A diet cannot correct magnesium deficiency. Now, the diet I advocate, that is wheat and grain elimination, as we do in the wheat belly lifestyle or the undoctored lifestyle, eliminates the phytates of grains, which bind most magnesium, most dietary magnesium in the intestines, and it causes you to pass all the magnesium out in the toilet. That improves your magnesium status, but even that does not fully restore the profound magnesium deficiency you begin with because you drink filtered water. You have to. Modern water is contaminated with sewage, chemicals, farm runoff. You eat produce commercially produced that it's low in magnesium. And you were a former consumer of grains, perhaps, that had phytates. So you start with severe magnesium deficiency. Just removing grains, while it helps, is insufficient. It's inadequate to fully replace magnesium, and you have to go farther to replace magnesium because it gives you better control over blood pressure, heart disease, heart rhythm disorders, bone health, osteopenia, osteoporosis, and numerous other factors in health. Diet does not always correct all the facets of endocrine disruption. Now, losing visceral fat, as you do in my programs, Wheat Belly and Undoctored, when you lose visceral fat, you do have normalization of many hormonal disruptions. Men, for instance, will have their estrogens go down. They start with abnormally high estrogen, and the testosterone goes up. In women who have polycystic ovary syndrome, their testosterone will go down, and their insulin levels come down. They often become no longer insulin resistant. But not all forms of endocrine disruption normalize. So many people begin this process or diet process with thyroid disruption. I estimate that 20 to 35% of everybody who starts on a diet has a thyroid issue. And if you're overweight, even more likely to have a thyroid issue. And diet will not correct your thyroid disruption, whether it was caused by exposure to industrial chemicals or prior consumption of grains in which the gliadin protein activated Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or other causes. So diet alone is insufficient to normalize all forms of endocrine disruption. Diet will not boost oxytocin levels. And boosting oxytocin is one of the most fabulous, spectacular things you can do to reverse aging, smoother skin, reduction in wrinkles, restoration of youthful muscle and bone density, increased libido, accelerated healing. It's the closest thing I know of to restoration of youth, of turning the clock back 10 or 20 years. No diet will do that. You have to take very specific efforts. That's why I talk about my Wheat Belly blog, Undoctored blog, and show you how to do that. No diet fully reduces homocysteine levels. Now, homocysteine is a very complicated issue. I'm not going to discuss that fully here, but know that a return to whole foods will reduce homocysteine levels a little bit because better foods provide more B vitamins, like folate, vitamin B6, B12, and riboflavin. But a real restoration of B vitamin status and reduction in homocysteine, I believe, comes via bowel flora. That is, by reducing the proportion of firmicutes, those are the bacteria that tend to be overpopulated in people who are overweight or have insulin resistance or have type 2 diabetes. So you want to follow a bowel flora program that reduces the proportion of firmicutes species and increases the proportions of B vitamin producing species. This is a very complicated topic that I'll be discussing more in detail in future because it's really interesting. It may be a way to do away with taking B vitamins and not worrying about your B vitamin status because the microbes in your intestines take care of them for you. And then lastly, a diet cannot always reverse any irreversible damage you've incurred. And that's why I urge everybody, if you're going to do my programs, Wheat Belly and Undoctored, do them as early in life as possible. Get the ones you love, people you're close to, do it as early as possible because there are indeed irreversible changes that can develop. Type 1 diabetes means irreversible damage to your pancreatic beta cells that produce insulin. Autoimmune pancreatitis or autoimmune hepatitis, those conditions do not fully recover because those organs are very poor at recovering. Hashimoto's thyroiditis, the thyroid is very poor at recovering. So even if you remove the initial cause, such as the gliadin protein of wheat or industrial compound exposure, you can still be left with an impaired thyroid. What if you have cataracts from a bad diet? Well, that doesn't fully reverse. You may slow the progression of it, but you can't reverse it. So there's many irreversible changes that will not be reversed with diet, but that you can take additional steps to encourage reversal or at least stabilization of those conditions. In a nutshell, diet, a good place to start, but diet is woefully inadequate to achieve optimal health. You have to take additional steps. Now, to explore those steps, I encourage you to read my Wheat Belly Total Health book or my Undoctored book or the how-to book of mine is called Wheat Belly 10-Day Grain Detox. And of course, join my ongoing conversations about these kinds of issues in my Wheat Belly blog, my Undoctored blog, and of course, this YouTube channel.